Welcome, I am Harry and this is KATHAKALI, World Stories at One Junction. Today in this video, let me take you into the world of Russian masterpiece, God Sees the Truth But Waits, written by the great Leo Tolstoy. It is a tale of faith, injustice and redemption, set in the vast cold lands of Russia. So sit back and journey with me into this timeless tale. In the small town of Vladimir, there lived a merchant named Ivan Dmitrich Aksionov. Ivan was a cheerful man with a thriving business, a beautiful wife and loving children. One summer, he decided to travel to the fair to sell his goods. Before leaving, his wife had a strange premonition. She said, "Please don't go, Ivan. I saw a dream, and when you returned back home, you had grey hairs. Dreams are just dreams. I will be back before you know it." And with that, he kissed his family goodbye and set off. After traveling a long distance, Ivan stopped at an inn to rest. He met another merchant there, and the two shared a meal before retiring to their rooms. But just as few miles from the inn, he was stopped by a group of soldiers. They said, "You are under arrest for the murder of the merchant who stayed at the inn with you." Ivan was stunned. "Murder? Me? I did no such thing," he protested. The soldiers searched his bag and to Ivan's horror found a blood-stained knife. Ivan cried out, "This is not mine, I'm innocent!" But no one was ready to believe him. Ivan was taken to the court, but the evidence was stacked against him. Witness claimed they saw him leaving the inn early. The judge declared, "You are guilty of murder and will be sent to Siberia for life." Ivan's heart broke. He begged for mercy, but no one listened. His wife came to see him before he was taken away. She cried, "What will happen to our children? Who will take care of us? Tell me, Ivan, did you really commit the murder?" Ivan was so shocked of the fact. Even his wife was not believing him. Ivan had no answers. He was chained. Ivan replied with silence. Years passed in the cold prison. He stopped complaining and began praying daily. His cheerful nature returned, and soon even the gods and fellow prisoners respected him. They called him grandfather and came to him for advice. But deep inside, Ivan still worried. Why has God allowed this? Why should I suffer for something I did not do? One day, a new prisoner arrived. He was a tall, rough man named Makar Semyonik. Ivan noticed something strange about him. Makar would often glance at Ivan. One day, Ivan overheard Makar confessing to another prisoner, "It was me who killed that merchant years ago." They arrested Ivan wrongly for that. Ivan froze. His whole body trembled. Here was the man who had destroyed his life. Rage filled his heart, but he said nothing. That night, Ivan prayed harder than ever before. A few days later, at a silent night, the prison was silent except for the soft snores of sleeping men. Ivan Aksionov lay awake on his hard cot, staring at the ceiling. Sleep never came easily for him, and it was then he heard a faint sound. He turned his head and saw Makar Semyonik crouched near the floor, digging a hole beneath the wooden planks. His hands moved quickly, his breath short and nervous. Ivan's heart raced. If Makar escaped and got caught, he would be beaten or even killed. Ivan could call the gods and stop him, but he didn't. The next morning, the prison guards noticed the freshly dug hole beneath the floorboards. It was small but deep enough for a man to crawl through. Panic spread quickly through the barracks and the guards began to search for the culprit. They gathered the prisoners in the yard and a stern police officer approached Ivan. "Hey old man, did you see anything last night? Someone trying to escape?" he asked sharply, eyeing Ivan closely. Ivan's mind raced, but he remained calm. He knew who had been digging. Makar, the man for whose crime he was punished for this long years. But Ivan stayed silent. "Yes, officer, I know, but I won't say," he replied quietly. The officer narrowed his eyes, studying Ivan, but there was no proof, no way to force him. The investigation went on, but Ivan didn't speak. He knew that Makar's escape was not his to stop. The next morning, Ivan approached Makar and said, "Why did you do this to me? I have spent my life suffering for your crime." Seeing this, Makar was deeply moved. He fell to the knees of Ivan and begged, "Forgive me, Ivan. I was blinded by greed and fear." For a moment, Ivan's old anger resurfaced, but then he looked at Makar and said, "God sees the truth, but waits. He will decide your fate. I forgive you." Makar was deeply moved. He confessed his crime to the authorities, and Ivan was declared innocent. But by the time the order for Ivan's release arrived, his health had failed. Ivan smiled peacefully and said, "My time has come. God knows the truth, and now I can rest." With those words, Ivan passed away, a free man in spirit. This is the story of Ivan Dmitrich Aksionov, a man who suffered greatly but never lost his faith. His life reminds us that truth and justice may take time, but they prevail in the end. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to KATHAKALI for more such timeless tales. Thank you and see you in the next story.